So how do you do your work? All these investigative reporters out here, how do you do your work? How do you accomplish?
I'll tell you a couple of things. First of all, it's much harder to work against corporations because of the legal situation. There's so much more fear about corporations have more legal assets. The government's very easy. You can kick the government all you want if you have it. All they do is issue sort of, you know, like morale, you know. We couldn't tell the Pakistanis because they would tip off bin Laden, which of course gave away the fact that we thought of course they knew what bin Laden was. You can't know anything about the ISI, the intelligence service of the Pakistanis, and not know that they knew where he was very early. Anyway, and so did the Saudis, but we'll deal, that'll all come out. It'll come out eventually. It should come from there, but they've tightened it up. It'll come eventually. Anyway, the thing I do is, first you read up a lot. You do a lot of homework. I mean a lot of homework. You really do the homework, and there's tremendous stuff on the internet now. The internet's, there's so much more deeper researches. You can do deep searches now in ways you couldn't do. I'm not that good at it, but I know people who are, and I deal with them. Secondly, you watch retirements. And corporations are what I look, if I'm going to look at a corporation, and I did do this for the Times, it was very hard. With Jeff Gerth, who's a great reporter with whom I worked for years, we did two long 5-part series and some bad guys that were not in the government stuff, Gulf and Western. You look, corporations put out every year, you know, books of the officers. Just look for somebody high up in the accounting or treasury basically. Just look for somebody who's been a vice president of the Treasury for 12, 15 years, disappears. There's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's your guy. Something's going on. Anybody in tax enforcement, the tax issues, you know, there's things they do with tax that a lot of people in corporations say, that's enough, I'm out of here. So that's one way you do it. In the military, watch retirement lists. You know, you don't spend, you know, can you imagine the plight of some guy that's, I'll give you a literal case, some guy that's an Army colonel who's a great Arabic speaker, who's assigned in late 2000 to Al Gore's office because Al Gore's interested in oil in Kazakhstan and other places where you're interfacing between, he also had Russian and Arabic, are great languages to have. And the next thing you know, Cheney becomes vice president and suddenly you're nobody. You're not, Cheney's nice to you, but you're not an insider, you're not trusted. I'm doing a book on Cheney. Been forever doing it, but it's okay. Because it gets better as you get on. And anyway, and so you're stuck. You want to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and you're working for this guy who after 9/11 becomes an Islamophobe, who, you know, he's sort of terrifying, and you have nothing to do. You're stuck, you leave. So guys who leave, who don't make it, you know, become a 1-star or 2-star when they're, check where they are in their class at West Point, or where they are in promotion lists. If they're ahead of the curve and they don't make it, you got a story. You got something, there you go. It's not that hard. It's just, it involves making a lot of phone, not midnight visits. I don't know how they got away with it, Bob and Carl.
He still does it. Woodward still does it.
I know, amazing. They don't work.
Not midnight, but 8 o'clock.
You don't knock on the door. It's never worked. I mean, and by the way, all this talk about being pushy and telling people, you know, yeah, once in a while, but most of the time it doesn't work.
I'm going to ask about that.
It doesn't work.
Well, I mean, Bob charms people, and you know, evidence is a strong interest in their lives and their work and so on. So he charms people and becoming really good sources. Yeah, your reputation is for being tough on people, being a bully. Is that true?
You can bully a cabinet official. Come on. What it is ideal and gossip, basically. You know, you're some guy, you left Wall Street, you're making $200 million a year or $5 billion a year, whatever it is they make. They always, it's all back-end money for all those guys. I played tennis with a guy who worked in the Clinton years. He was out of one of the big investment houses. He was just a kid. And we played tennis. Neither of us belonged to a club then. We played at a public course, $5 an hour on Saturdays and Sundays. And he later became a very big, major Wall Street guy. But it was the end of, he'd been there for 3 years in Treasury. He had a good job, been promoted. And I said to him one day, so you left Wall Street, your company, in 1976 to go work, and now you're going to go back. How much money did you make? He said, what do you mean? I said, how much did you make in 76, your last year on Wall Street? And we're coming back from a $5 an hour tennis court, maybe 7. And he says, 26 mil. I said, what? Most of it's back end, he said. So, I mean, you know, who knows what these guys make? A lot of money, more than we do in our business. Anyway, so you got a guy that, it works, it just works. Tell somebody in a big job where he has access to all the secrets, something he didn't know. You drive him crazy. tell him something he didn't know that he knows is right. And then he's going to match you. I know it sounds primitive and silly, but I've always found that if I go and I yak it up with somebody and tell them a bunch of things that I don't know, they say, well, hey, listen, you ought to know about this, you know, and that does work. It's silly. But if you think you can call up a senior government official and say, I'm a reporter and I'm telling you, if you don't talk to me, I'm going to make your life tough. Are you kidding? But I don't mind it because it's there. It's there. With corporations, it's tougher because you can't make that. You can try and be rough with the guy. You can with a corporation you can't do it. But with the government, the military guy, you can. In the CIA it would work. I would say, your deputies nailed you. He's told me you did this and that.
Right.
And they would say, I don't know what you're talking about, and very often call back and say, I'm not taking the fall for this.
Right.
That's what happened on the domestic spying story.
Well, you've written a lot about intelligence over the years. You keep coming back to it, CIA, domestic spying, et cetera. Why is that